In this video, you're gonna get a behind the scenes look at the broadcast studio at Red Rocks Church. My name is Jake Goslin with churchfront.com, an online resource for creative and innovative church leaders. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can receive all of our latest videos to help you grow yourself and grow your church. I want to preface this video with a little caveat. I do not think that it's necessary for every single church to be recording their whole worship service, I'm talking about music as well as the sermon, and posting it online. I think all churches at the very least should be recording their sermon and creating an online podcast for people to listen to, but putting the whole service online is not something I think every church needs to do. If you're a smaller church, you do not need a multi-million-dollar production system in order to create compelling content online. At your church, create a YouTube channel, write blogs, record a podcast. That's the type of content most people consume online, and you're gonna be able to reach a bunch of people online that way, as well as disciple your congregation with that type of content. I just want to get that caveat out of the way up front, that while it is beneficial to share your whole worship service so that you can expand your reach globally and maybe people who can't make it to church can still experience the music and everything else going on in the worship service, for most churches, it's just unnecessary. But here's why I created this video and why I want to share what Red Rocks is doing to capture their services to put them online. Reason number one, it's just cool. I geek out over tech and gear and audio engineering, and I'm sure you do if you're watching this, so you're just gonna enjoy seeing what their setup is like, and it's probably gonna inspire you with some practical ideas for your own studio. Reason number two, I wanted you to have some just practical mixing advice. There's gonna be a whole bunch of that in this video. And finally, if you happen to be in the 1% of churches who have the resources to build a professional production studio to record your worship services, you should probably take a look at what Red Rocks is doing, because in my opinion, they're doing this the best. And before we continue on, if throughout this video you have questions about their setup at Red Rocks or church sound in general, be sure to leave those questions below in the comments. Include where you're watching this video from. I always love to hear where you're watching from. Let me know in the comments, do you guys record your whole worship service at your church? Are you considering doing it? What are your thoughts? What are your questions about it? What are challenges you have faced? Just share what you're thinking below. I'll be sure to say hey, and I'm also gonna ask Jesse to monitor the comments in case of any technical sound questions come up that he can answer a lot better than I can. With all that said, and without further ado, I am pumped to share with you that time I hung out with Jesse O'Brien, one of the audio engineers at Red Rocks Church. So I've called my Lyft ride because I am a bicyclist and I don't want to ride my bike all the way to the church. So I'm waiting for my Lyft. Should be here any moment, and I'm getting my gear ready to go. But yeah, I'm gonna head to the church right now. How's it going?
Good, Jake. How about you?
Good. You know, that would help, actually. I'll do that. Red Rocks Church was founded in 2005. They started in this dingy theme park that's here in Colorado, pretty close to Red Rocks Amphitheater. You've probably heard of that venue before. And over the past decade and almost a half now, the church has just exploded. I think our weekly attendance is now around 15,000 people at 5 different campuses. One of those campuses is in Brussels, Belgium. So I love being a part of Red Rocks Church. That's where I attend church, and that's where I worship when I'm not leading worship at any of my interim roles, kind of like I am right now at a church plant. And the Littleton campus is where they have the central offices. That's the central office that resources all the other campuses around the Denver area and in Brussels. This campus, that's also where they record the worship services that you see online. That's where they have all the infrastructure ready to go. So I got to the church, I headed inside, and I went to the recording studio where I would find Jesse. Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for the
you
lift.
bet. Have
Get my stuff. Yep. Knock, knock. Looking for a guy with a bunch of corny jokes and knows how to run sound. One of the first questions I asked Jesse is, why do they have this separate recording studio at the church rather than just pulling the mix from the front of house mix, which was downstairs in the auditorium where everybody was worshiping? Why not pull the mix from there? So I asked Jesse, why did the church invest so much resources into having this professional studio? And here's what he said.
the easiest thing to do is just to take your left-right mix from front of house, shoot that online, and there you go. Plot that with some sort of video, and there you go. The only problem with that, and people realize it very quickly, is the front of house guy he's making it sound good for just the room, the specific venue, and you know, it could be a square room, it could be a round room, it could be a huge PA, it could be a small little PA on stand. So it's all over the map on what he's listening through and what he's mixing through. You don't notice that as much in the room because, you know, the whole idea is to make it sound good in the room. But when you record it and put it online out of computer speakers or your little earbuds or your phone, you notice very quickly that the quality is pretty bad. So why do churches, big churches, or that go into that level and take, you know, and push for the quality? Why do they build a separate room? Well, it's because I'm doing a mix strictly for that. I don't care about how the room sounds downstairs. I don't care about, you know, is you know, the reflection, is it, how are the dB, or, you know, what's the SPL like? I don't care if, you know, there's bounce back off the back wall. None of that matters to me because I have my very own mix. I'm getting a copy of all the tracks that front of house is getting up here, and I can do anything I want to them that doesn't affect down there and vice versa. So you know, so this is a studio. It's a regular mixing studio of a controlled room that's been treated, and you know, it's acoustically, you know, functional for mixing. So I have a very accurate idea of what it's supposed to sound like, and therefore I can make it sound as best possible online, and it, you know, it translates much better. It sounds almost like a record. That's the goal, at least.
Also important to know that when Jesse mixes during the worship service, that's what you're hearing in what's put up online afterwards. So he doesn't really go back and tweak anything. He's mixing that live for online, and once the service is done, the audio is done. And here's kind of the big picture overview of the setup they have going here. So of course you have the auditorium downstairs, which used to be the old dinner theater. That's where the worship service happens. I think it holds about 1,000 people in there. And you have your production team down there. You have in the sound booth the guys running lights, and you have the service producer, and you have the sound guy, Eric, who, Eric, by the way, was on the channel in a previous episode, 10 tips to improve church sound. Make sure you check out that. So Eric running sound downstairs. But here's what's happening in terms of signal flow. From the stage, everything goes into the stage box, and they network everything with Dante, which I don't even really know how that works, but it's a cool name, and that's apparently what does it. And Dante sends the signal of all the band and the clicks and microphones and all that stuff to the front of house mixer, and then it also sends a separate signal to Jesse up in the broadcast studio. So he has his own raw signals to work with. So then I asked Jesse about all the gear that he's using in the studio. First, there's the Yamaha CL5. That's where he does like 90% of the actual mixing and processing goes on in that board. And he does most of the basic mixing when it comes to levels and EQ and compression and gain and all that good stuff. Then he has a couple computers that are surrounding the CL5 console. The computer to his left is running plugins. So that computer functions as a controller to operate the Waves plugins.
You know, Waves is just a third-party plugin manufacturer. There's hundreds of plugin manufacturers out there. Waves is one of the bigger ones. So they created this system called SoundGrid, which is actually a separate computer that does all the DSP for these plugins, and then I can just route through my console in and out of this system and use any of the Waves plugins that they have.
He also uses Ableton to apply auto-tune to vocals.
A lot of people use Pro Tools for this. You can use really any DAW, but basically I'm using Ableton Live to run live auto-tune on the vocals. And then I have kind of markers set for each key, so I'll know the key of each song, so when they go into the next song I can flip the key over to the proper key. And if I don't do that, it makes a good situation really bad. So I have to be on that. I have to make sure that happens.
Auto-tune only works with the right key. And then he actually has some pads on that computer that he'll play into the mix when he feels like it's necessary.
The last kind of thing I have, I will play my own pads. up here, so I have a bank of a couple different pads in every key. And really for me, it's just my own little glue that I can use in between transitions and during prayer.
And then finally, with that computer on his left, he is actually remoting in to the laptop that's running Pro Tools on stage by the keyboardist. And that laptop in Pro Tools is running the band's multi-tracks.
Kind of the Pro Tools screen you see here, this is actually just a screen share with the Pro Tools computer that's actually downstairs. So the reason I do that is because a lot of times will take and use more or less than what they're actually using out on stage. So I need to be able to send it to myself separately. So that's basically what this is. It also gives me a good idea. I can kind of see when the tracks are started, when the cue has actually started, and I can kind of, make sure I'm not picking my nose, in the meantime. So
that was that one iMac that's to his left. It's doing a lot of things. Then he had the Mac Pro on his right. The Mac Pro's main purpose is to just record the multi-track session. And he's just using Nuendo to record that.
Then over here, this is just our the multi-track. This is Nuendo Live, and this is just multi-track, so this is how we record the whole show. The cool thing about Nuendo in this setting is it ties, in this particular room, it ties directly with, the CL5 really well.
Then Jesse also has some analog processing happening. He has 4 distressor rack units for 4 channels of amazing compression.
I use these distressors on the vocals. And let me tell you something about those meters. If singers ever ask you, hey, why don't I sound good on the recording and how can you make it better? If you get a distressor and you crank it so it's hitting right in these yellow, it'll improve your situation. If it gets up into like the red, the 12 through 26, then you really are making it sound good. Distressor is just a compressor. It's a super popular compressor in studio world. It's one of those ones that you can just smack it. You can just, I'm hitting 14 to 20 dB of compression and you can't hear it pumping. It is a compressor, it's just a really nice compressor.
Another important piece of gear in a studio is the video monitoring. He needs to be seeing what's going on both on stage with a multicam view, so that's what that top screen is for, and then he also needs to be able to see the actual program monitor of the final video output that's going to be broadcasted online. It was just really fun to see how this all works. You can also hear the other members of the production team and even the band members talking through the TalkBack clear comm system, and Jesse could communicate back with them as well.
Jesse, I have a joke for you.
Yep.
Yes,
okay,
please tell.
I'm having issues on Why can't you hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom?
Yo, what about that title slide?
Why, Kaylin?
All good. Because the P is silent.
Ah.
I gotta come back up and take
good.
stuff out of the ceremony.
It'd be even better if I knew how to spell pterodactyl.
We took out.
In my perspective, Jesse's role consists of about 4 different things. Number 1, he needs to create a great mix for the online broadcast, and he really only gets 2 chances at this. He records both the 4 and 6, and then whichever one was the best, that's what they put online, and it's gonna be online the next morning. But Jesse's also a music director for the band. Throughout the rehearsal, if he heard something that sounded funky from up in the studio, he could talk to the drummer, he could talk to the guitarist, he could talk to the vocalist and give them suggestions on how to tweak what they were doing to sound better.
I think it should be 4 on the floor the whole time.
Okay.
It was kind of hard to sing against.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think that pattern works better when there's a 4 on the floor with it. Bro, just take me to the club, Kaylin. Daniel, would it be possible during the choruses if you just chorded kind of heavy distortion? Because like for me, like the verses into the choruses don't change enough. Like there's not a big energy bump. I mean, just power chords, really. Yeah. I know that's substantially more boring for you. It'll just kind of build the Totally. Yes.
And then the third role Jesse has is to create that scorecard that he told us about, where they rate which song recordings were good, which ones weren't, and that's kind of how they decide which ones to put online.
So this is the infamous score sheet. Basically it has all the songs, announcements, message, what keys and stuff, kind of transition stuff for me. But it also has like a scorecard and like what times, if there's a couple sour notes, I'll write it down, you know, to help their security. So we do 2 services on Saturday and we pick the best. So we'll kind of go through and say, this one had more smiley faces, so that's the one we're going with.
That's your judge right there.
That's the smiley faces.
Oh, perfect.
So much so Tyler will come in and be like, he'll look right at it and be like, I don't see many smiley faces on that one.
What's this technology right here?
This is a new app. It's called Pen and Paper, and it's nice. You can draw things on it and color. They have 5 colors.
What's the battery life like?
Oh, I don't know. I've never run out. It lasts forever. The only thing you do need light. You need light for it. So.
And finally, the 4th thing that Jesse does is he just tells horrible jokes through the talkback system.
Did y'all hear about the prisoner that was told that he had to be, you know, put down? He was shot. Executed.
So once rehearsal was done, we went downstairs and we grabbed some dinner. All right, we just had our pre-production meeting, grabbed some quick dinner, and now it is 25 seconds until the service starts.
Oh, there he is, 20. Oh! Did he forget his signals? 2, 1, and...
Shadows in the night won't take away my joy. Steady is your love, and you I am secure. Driven by your heart, held in perfect grace. Whatever comes my way, never crush my praise. Even in the darkest valley, your peace is rushing through me. Even with the fire surrounding, I know that you still will.
And then MJ, who's one of the filmmakers at Red Rocks and in charge of putting the service video online, he was in the studio also listening along, and he works with Jesse to combine the audio with the video that they then post the next morning.
We're taking Jesse's master mix that is actually different than the mix that you hear in the room. It's mastered for online, and it'll live there, but in order for that to happen, I have to take the recording from what we record, the line cut, and then sometimes we'll use the 4 o'clock for worship and the 6 o'clock message, or vice versa, or sometimes the same. But all I'm doing is kind of cleaning up the transitions, making it all kind of work and go together, and then at the end of the night I'll start scheduling everything so that it'll all go online and we'll play live at the service times in conjunction with when the service times are actually happening at the physical campuses, so that the online campus can kind of be happening simultaneously.
And that's it. That's how they capture amazing audio of the worship services at Red Rocks Church. Any words of advice for churches wanting to broadcast their worship services?
Yeah, the best thing you can do is you know, take an honest listen to your mixes. You know, obviously the first step is going to be, hey, get it online one way, shape, or form. If that means just taking a stereo off your front of house board, by all means, you know, as long as people can hear it and understand what's going on, you know, that's really the whole point behind all of this. So from there, you know, you can kind of slowly start working on quality, increasing quality. What does that mean? Does that mean, okay, take that next step to, all right, we've been using the front of house mix, now maybe let's take a step further and get a second console. If you have a digital console already, that's not a very big step other than the cost of a new console. But once you do that, now you can put it in a separate room with 2, you know, studio monitors, and you're already a huge step up as far as the sonic quality is going. Just getting it out of the sanctuary or the front of house into its own little room, and get a guy in there that can mix it up for you. That's going to be your next step, and then just, you know, slowly increase from there. Get better speakers, get, you know, better console. At that point, if you're getting to that point, you're probably upgrading equipment anyway, so it kind of falls into suit there.
Hey, thanks so much, Jesse. Really appreciate the walkthrough of your studio, and I think there's lots of cool takeaways that folks can have by just seeing the setup that you guys have here. So,
hey, thanks for coming, and subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, hey, actually, where can people get a hold of you?
If you have more questions concerning audio or, you know, life lessons in general, my Instagram is Midwest Jess, and my Facebook is just Jesse O'Brien. So yeah, hit me up.
Sweet. All right. Thank you, Jesse.
Yep.
Thank you, MJ.
See ya.
Bye. I hope it was just entertaining for you to see all the cool gear, the amazing systems they have set up to do this. I hope you were able to take away some of the tips that Jesse shared and apply it to your own mixing at your own church. I know I had a blast just sitting through this whole thing and watching it happen. Before you go, I have a couple things for you to do. Number one, I've actually included the link to this worship service below this video. So you'll be able to actually go watch the final product and you'll listen to the final mix that Jesse produced on Red Rocks Church's website. And then also, if you're a worship leader and you're at a smaller church or you're building a worship ministry and you geek out about gear and worship tech as much as I do, you're gonna wanna check out my worship toolkit. It's a huge document that contains all of my favorite gear and resources for worship. I've also included the link to the worship toolkit in the description below. So click the link, complete the form, and I'll send you instant access to the toolkit. As always, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions about church tech and church sound down below in the comments. I'll do my best to help answer those, and I'm sure other folks who come across this video will be able to help as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can receive all of our latest videos to help you grow yourself and grow your church. If you found this video helpful and or entertaining, please hit that thumbs up button and leave some love in the comments below. And if you just want to say hey, I'll say hey back. Also, be sure to share this video with your other friends in ministry if you think they will find it helpful as well.